Welcome to episode 6 of A Wild Podcast Has Appeared, the official Pokemon podcast of Comicbook.com. I am your host, Jim Biscardi, along with my other hosts, Megan Peters, and on the phone, Christian Hoffer. Guys, wowie, we got some news. I am excited to talk about Pokemon this week because we finally have gotten the Sword and Shield news we have been waiting for this morning. And It's, at first glance, I love it. And I love the new, first of all, we got new legendaries. They've been shown. I love them. I love them both. I like the Shield one more. I don't know its name because I have had a chance to learn it yet. But that Shield one is my new favorite.
Yeah, that one's called Zamazenta. And
great, nice and easy. Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it just rolls off the tongue there. I like the fact that it's kind of got this like retractable shield thing.
Yeah.
We've got like we got 2 promo images for it, and in the second one the shield is like much wider. So I'm personally a fan of Zacian, which is one who's just carrying around a big sword in his mouth. Just, as dogs are wont to do.
Okay, well, before we get too deep into Sword and Shield, we're going to save that for the last half. If this is your first time coming to A Wild Podcast Has Appeared, welcome. We talk about a lot of Pokemon things. Video game stuff, trading card game stuff, collectible stuff. If you like Pokemon, you have just found the best Pokemon podcast to listen to. Hands down. Easy peasy. We have a bunch of reviews that say so.
Yes.
So so it's fine. You can find a new podcast every Thursday. We go once a week, unless, big news happens, but big news happen as we're recording, so we don't have to do a special episode. It's all great. We generally go through some news bits in the first part, then we do a bit of a deep dive in the second part, and then Christian regales us with tales of Pokemon facts that sometimes gross us out and sometimes just make us feel like a smarter Pokemon fan. So, with that being said, Sword and Shield, obviously big stuff. We want to talk about it. I want to talk about it. Megan wants to talk about it. Christian wants to talk about it. We need to hit some other stuff first. Should we start with the trading card game stuff, or should we start with Pokemon Go stuff? I'm going to let you guys pick.
Let's talk about the Pokemon trading card game thing, because that was a career accomplishment for me.
And Christian's about to show off right now. Here we go.
Hey,
Do it. Do it.
One of my life goals has always been to get to interview some of the people behind Pokemon. And so last month, we actually had an opportunity to do so. I got to speak with the game director of the Pokemon trading card game about why certain Pokemon appear in the tag team cards. So for those of you who aren't as up to date on the Pokemon trading card game, there's a new type of card called Tag Team GX cards, which have 2 Pokemon on them instead of 1. And they have
if you've watched any of our unboxings, Megan and I have terrible luck trying to pull those.
Yes.
Just putting that out there.
But I get very excited when we do pull one.
That's because you guys don't have me around. So
True.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Continue.
No, it's fine. Anyways, so we got a chance to talk with the game director of the Pokemon trading card game about why some of these Pokemon were chosen. One of my favorites. The interview goes live after this podcast goes up. So it goes live at 9 a.m. on Comicbook.com on Thursday. And one of my favorite parts is when they talk about Magikarp and Psyduck and Slowpoke and why they're on a tag team card together, which is kind of amazing. It can do 1,000 damage.
Whoa.
And that is why we don't mess with Psyduck.
That's gonna be a card everyone wants.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, these Pokemon, they kind of space out, but when they're in a jam, they will kill you. They will literally kill you.
Yeah.
So what I thought was most interesting about this entire process was, one, super cool. Like this is a guy who makes the rules for the game, right? Like game mechanics, the works, and so to be able to talk to someone like that was a super cool moment. Not only for Christian, but for us here at Comic Book, because we just love that stuff. But also, I loved, normally when we do interviews at Comic Book, even if it's an email interview, it usually takes place over 3-4 days, maybe a week at most. Because we're dealing with someone who speaks Japanese and there's translators involved and things like that. Like, this was like a month-long process. And so as we kept getting like every new update, I just kept getting more and more excited. And no joke, I read the interview when it came in, and it's great. It's a fascinating look that is sort of a peek behind the curtains on why the trading card game does what it does. Why, when they introduced the tag team stuff, like that was a huge change to the gameplay mechanics. And he goes into that a bit in the interview too. So definitely check it out tomorrow as you're listening to this, because it will be up and live. So that was very, very cool. Were there any other interesting tidbits you can tease from that one, Christian?
We get to learn about Mewtwo and Mew working together, which it's kind of funny because that actually they're like, okay, we're going to do Mewtwo and Mew. Let's hit up the artist, and the artist's like, here you go. I already have a piece done.
They were raiding. They were ready.
Yeah. And it kind of shows Mew coming to Mewtwo's defense in some sort of like lab setting, and like so Mewtwo's there, and like Mew just like pops in to help his son out. There's a lot of really cool art. They just released an alternate art version of that card, which shows like Mew all like happy and like bouncing around, and Mewtwo just going like, "What am I doing here?" And his like his head's buried in his hands, and he just looks frustrated as all get out by Mew. And like I think that's going to be like one of the most popular cards that we'll see this year, just because the art alone is delightful.
Honestly, I just want like an entire like short OVA anime special that's just based on that premise of like Mew and Mewtwo, but like slice of life drama. Like, what do they fight about trying to eat for breakfast? Because I feel like you would probably eat like avocado toast, but like Mewtwo's definitely a like sausage, bacon, egg kind of guy.
Yeah, he probably eats like steak for breakfast. Yeah, Mew's probably a vegan.
Oh, for sure. He's hitting up Jamba Juice. There's no doubt. Or whatever the Pokemon equivalent of that is. Put some like berries in there.
Today on Mew and 2.
Yes, there we even have a name.
Perfect. See?
Mew and 2.
Perfect.
Maybe that'll be the next Pokemon live action movie. Is we'll get the buddy cop.
Yeah, that's what I need. The buddy cop Mew and 2 movie.
As long as we get Bill Nye referring to Mew as the ancient Mew over and over and over again, I'm all for that.
All right. Well, we will immediately start writing that up and petitioning. One of the many, many online petitions that are out there these days. We'll start our own.
It's Adventure Week for Pokemon Go players.
Yes, that is a thing.
Wow, you sound 0 points excited for this one.
Well, I like the fact that I'm getting like buddy candies every time I sneeze. So that's awesome. So the big part about that is you get it only takes 1/4 of the normal distance to get a buddy candy. So that's the big pitch of it. There's a bunch of new shiny Pokemon. Lulu, Anorith, and Onix all have shinies in the game now. So that's nice if you like doing that. The issue is that one of the big draws of this event is that there's if you complete 50 kilometers using your Adventure Sync system, you get 15 rare candies and 50,000 Stardust. The problem is Adventure Sync isn't a perfect system by any stretch of the imagination. People have complained about it for months, and what does Pokemon Go do? They release an event that requires Adventure Sync to get your big bonus.
Of course.
So. And then they acknowledge the fact that Adventure Sync doesn't work after the event begins, which is I don't even.
Thanks for nothing, Niantic.
Yeah,
they were just excited. They just want you to go out there and walk.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, for this event, I will probably try and go for a shiny Onix. I do love Onix.
You know what always disappoints me about the shiny Onix? Do you remember in the Pokemon anime they had the Crystal Onix and it was like really badass and cool?
That's not the shiny.
Yeah, that's not the shiny. It's just like your typical gold Onix. which looks okay, but we could have had a Crystal Onyx. And
Yeah.
I feel like they really should have just looked to the anime a little bit sooner for some of these shiny inspirations. We could have had so many cooler Pokemon.
Yeah. I truly don't get the allure for shiny Pokemon. I know
I do not get it.
You don't either? 'Cause I thought I was kind of in the minority.
Nah,
I'm like,
I
a
don't
lot of them
care.
are just like you broke the color settings on your television.
Yeah.
And like that's surprise, shiny Pokemon. And I'm like, oh, I kind of like the other colors better.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I it's something to do when you're waiting for games.
Yep.
I'm not going to pretend that I haven't done some shiny hunting in some of the Pokemon main series games. I've done a lot of loops, hatching hundreds of eggs, trying to get certain shiny Pokemon, shiny Bulbasaur, shiny Totodile, stuff like that. But yeah, more often than not, the color schemes just suck. And then like the wild shiny Pokemon that you find, like I remember the first shiny Pokemon I got in the wild, it was a shiny Volbeat, which
Yeah.
cool. What am I going to do with that?
Yeah. Yeah. My my like boyfriend, he like texted me the other day and he was like, "Hey, I got a shiny Lugia." And I was like, "What? That's not I don't even know if that's possible. I haven't even caught up. I don't have Lugia yet, if that's even possible." But I don't know. I was just like, I don't really care. I have like one shiny Togepi that I like hatched or something, and I was like, I'm disappointed. And so I never cared to do it again.
That's another shiny Pokemon where it's just like the color scheme on the eggs, the blue triangles are red triangles and the red triangles are blue triangles. Like, good luck telling the difference.
Yeah, like I got it was like all the shiny stuff around it, and I was like, oh, what literally is the difference? There's absolutely no difference.
But even like how I know people love the shiny Charizard, but like why? Like I just don't get it.
I
The
don't.
shiny Charizard's cool. It's black skinned. It's like badass. They basically copied it for Mega Charizard X, I think.
Yes.
One of the Mega Charizards.
Yeah.
It's got black skin and the blue fire. I mean, that one at least looks kind of cool. I mean, it's better than shiny Venusaur, which is just Venusaur but green, and Venusaur
Yeah.
was green. It's.
The one thing
But-
I'll say is that, like, with shiny Pokemon, like, what I always wanted, and I'm curious to see if Niantic will try to do something with it this summer with the new Pokemon anime film coming out, Mewtwo Evolution, Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, which is just kind of like a 3D CG remake of the 99 film.
For the record, I think looks pretty cool.
Yeah, like I'm getting used to the aesthetic of it, but what I'm curious to see is if Niantic obviously will do a tie-in promotion, because they're going to be promoting that film pretty heavily in Japan, and if instead of like doing like regular shinies, they'll do like the Mewtwo cloned Pokemon. Like that's what I want. Like I want to.
You are giving Niantic way too much credit for
Hey.
thought here.
I'm not
So-
giving Niantic the credit. I'd be giving the Pokemon Company the credit for that one.
But I would imagine like Pokemon Company would be like, "Hey, we should do this," and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! We need 12 months of development to do this."
Man, I just
How
really
about a
want the
Pikachu with a
striped.
hat?
Yeah.
What?
How about another Pikachu with a hat? We've only done 10 of
Yeah,
those.
or just like a Pikachu with like a popcorn bucket or something. But that's what I've always wanted, because I always really loved the Mewtwo clone Charizard from the original film, as well as the Pikachu. But obviously, they're slapping each other. We'll never forget that scene from the anime. But I'd really like that. I know it's never gonna happen, but I can dream.
So the rumor for the Pokemon Go tie-in for Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution is that we could get an armored Mewtwo in Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
That's the rumor. They found a piece of code that says Mewtwo-A, which people think means armored Mewtwo.
People want that armored Mewtwo. They don't care where they get it. Just give it to them.
Yep.
They did just
Yeah.
release, though, a high-end armored Mewtwo figure to promote the film in Japan. It does look pretty sweet, but I'm also like, this
looks-
armor is in no way, shape, or form practical.
It looks well. Remember, the armor's not there to protect Mewtwo.
Exactly.
It's to protect us.
I know, but it's
From you.
still just like, it doesn't look feasible to protect or to restrain him. It just looks
Megan.
like bubbles. I don't even know.
Megan,
I'm
you
not a fan.
are the queen of anime. you should know that armor in anime is neither practical nor, it has no effect other than to look cool.
Hey, have you ever seen Evangelion? Some of that stuff's practical. How dare you?
All right. Well, that was a enormous tangent that I did not expect everyone to be kind of on board with. Down with the shinies. I hate the shinies.
Down.
Sorry. There's a little bit more Pokemon Go news, and then we'll jump into Sword and Shield because I want to have as much time possible to talk about that. Pokemon Go Fest is coming up, and what are we getting, Christian?
Jirachi, the new mythical Pokemon, but not new, but he's the mythical Pokemon that first appeared in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. Everyone kind of expected that we'd get Jirachi. We're getting Jirachi. It was added to the code. So what happened last year?
You sound even more disappointed about this than you did about Shiny Onyx.
I am only disappointed because I'm not getting to go. No, I'm sorry. That's a little bit of a deep dive for Galaxy's Edge people. No, I mean it'll be fun. So what happened last year was people who got to attend the event, got access to the mythical Pokemon first. There's a cool little quest that you can complete throughout the day, and then you eventually got this Pokemon. And that's what they did last year. They'll probably do it again this year. And the rest of us who didn't win the lottery, literally, to go to Pokemon Go Fest, we'll get it sometime later in the summer or fall. So, it'll be fun. Like, they don't really play much of a role, but it's all good. New Pokemon's a cool thing, I guess.
You're just so casual. I'm just excited because I love the Jirachi anime film. Like, I really loved that movie. Like that's one of my favorites. So I'm just like, I can now have my small child with me wherever I go. But yeah, I don't think Jirachi's gonna do much of anything except looked pretty in my inventory.
I always forget that Jirachi has the third eye on its stomach, which always freaks me out.
Yeah.
Because most of the time it's closed. It just looks like it has like a really big belly button, and then that thing opens up and it does its Doom Desire move, and everyone dies, and it's scary stuff.
I just need to say this because I just noticed it. So for those of you who are watching the video, we in the studio have a monitor that Christian is on, and he is in a spot that if you're watching the video, you see Christian in another box. It looks like we are looking over at Christian's box based on where the monitor is. I think that is a very cool setup. So thank you, Brian and Brittany and Richard, for setting that up. Producers of the show, great job. Anyway, when we get back,
yes,
it's Sword and Shield time, baby.
The moment we've all waited for.
Oh yeah.
All right. We got our Pokemon Connect, Nintendo Connect Direct, whatever the hell they're called now. Yeah. Which is it's just so crazy because then we had the Pokemon press conference last week, and we have this week, and then E3 is next week. Like, give me more of that Pokemon info. Immediately off the bat, when I watched some of the gameplay trailer stuff, and obviously with the two legendaries that they sort of introduced, it kind of looks like armor stuff may be coming.
No, it's not happening.
I want to believe.
We got our mechanic. We got our new mechanic. It's not Armored Evolution. I personally am kind of glad about that.
Yeah,
I like
same.
this. What they pulled out, Dynomax, is a lot cooler in my opinion.
Well, hold on, but before we get too far down, Christian, why don't you run down basically the bullet points of what we got from the Direct, and then we'll tackle it piece by piece.
Okay, so we got 7 new Pokemon released. They're called Lulu, Corviknight, Gossifleur, Eldegoss, Dreadnought, and the 2 legendaries, Zacian and Zamazenta.
All easy names.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wulu is just Wulu.
Wulu is a great name. I will take
like
that
a
one.
Child's chocolate drink.
I also do like Corviknight. I think that is a super cool name. Feels more like a Digimon name than anything else.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a badass looking Pokemon though.
Yeah.
Like it's a Raven that's armored up. Like looks like it will kill you.
It's an absolute unit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's big. Like that thing.
It's bigger than Charizard.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So it's
If I saw that thing flying around in the sky, I'd be like, oh my god, the end times are here.
Yeah, you are one of the like things coming to tell us the apocalypse is here.
Could you imagine being like, like living in Pokemon Britain and it's like, oh yeah, like here's this like flock of like metal death birds, just flying around.
Well, so let's talk about that for a second because obviously, if you haven't necessarily heard yet about Sword and Shield, this takes place in a Great Britain-esque region of the Pokemon world.
The Galar region.
The Galar region. And I would say you got a bit of a taste with, the Alolan stuff when that came out, that, it was more like a Hawaiian island or whatnot. But to me, these Pokemon feel super British.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like super
sheep?
British.
Yes.
Like I want to know what Downton Abbey in Galar is like because like that is just.
I want to eat Wooloo haggis. That's
why. I am making a petition
place.
to just have him be quiet the rest of the episode.
that went real dark.
That was my first thought when I saw Wooloo.
Why?
Like, oh, haggis.
Why is that your first thought? I will just say this. When I stayed abroad, I lived in Britain for like a year. My favorite thing to do when I studied was to go sit on this fence outside of my apartment and look at the sheep. Because there are sheep everywhere. There are so many sheep just in the countryside of where I was staying. So when I saw Wooloo, it reminded me of my friends back in that little pasture over by Bath. So I'm excited for Wooloo. We will not be turning Wooloo into haggis. And that is my rant.
So who do we think the immediate fan favorite is going to be out of this group?
Wooloo.
Megan doesn't get to vote.
I do.
It's a 50-50 split between Wooloo and Corviknight. People love Wooloo because it's this cute, innocent sheep Pokemon that literally rolls away when it's in trouble, which just cracks me up. It's like, oh, like the wolf Pokemon are coming for the Wooloo. Oh, it just pops its little legs inside its fur and just rolls away slowly. So that cracks me up. And Corviknight because it looks pretty badass. It's one of the most metal Pokemon I've ever seen.
Yeah, for sure. Do we think the legendaries look legendary enough?
Yeah.
Well, that was incredibly convincing.
I think honestly, some of the more recent legendaries have looked too legendary. And so I think now, like, these two are like getting back to like where like Suicune was at. Like, you compare Suicune to like the legendary.
You say it.
Suicune?
During this show, we are mentioning Pokemon that whose names I have only said in my head. So we gotta give.
Wait, how did you think it was?
Susanine or something? Like I had.
Oh.
All right. Look, I said it in my head that way, and it was totally fine.
That's okay. It's there. This is a very safe, accepting zone. But yeah, like Suicune, like I feel like Suicune and these legendaries are like pretty comparable in like design, but also kind of like fantasy elements as compared to something like Deoxys or something, where it's like DNA ribbon spaghetti from space. So I'm happy with it.
I'm glad that we finally have legendary dogs.
Yes.
Because the legendary beasts from Pokemon Gold and Silver are not dogs, and it just drives me up a wall.
They're not dogs. Are they?
They're not.
Like
they're giant
technically
cats.
not dogs.
One of them is literally a saber-toothed tiger, Jim. Two of them are
that's
saber-toothed tigers.
Yes. Now we got our good wolf
Now that you
boys.
mention it.
And now we have like so many now gaming wolves with swords in their mouths. I immediately thought of like Twilight Princess Zelda when I saw the wolves. I was like, yes.
There's a Dark Souls character that's literally just a giant wolf with a sword, and apparently we're getting our first Dark Souls crossover into the Pokemon franchise with Zacian. So yeah, they're fine. I think people are going to have a lot of fun having a dog with a big ass sword running around in its mouth. I've already seen like a dozen great memes about it, so they're good. They're good dogs, Jim.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well,
all dogs are good dogs. Good boys.
You briefly mentioned the new mechanic, Dynomax.
Ugh.
You didn't say that with enough.
Megan, incredibly unhappy about this one. Christian seemed to be pretty excited about it. Now I would like to see what's going on here.
Are you going to let us fight?
Yep.
In
So
this,
that was immediately the first thing when I walked in, and Charlie here was just like, "This is like kaiju Pokemon," and I was like, "Oh dear God."
yeah. But in this fight, I'm Godzilla because I win.
Okay, all right. So explain what this is and what theoretically it can do to gameplay.
Okay. So in this game, you will get a Dynomax band, which will allow you to supersize your Pokemon in certain places only. When you Dynamax a Pokemon, it basically becomes the size of a like medium-sized skyscraper. It only lasts for 3 rounds, so there's still a strategic element to it. And also, your moves become max moves, which have additional effects besides being able to blow up cities, I guess. So like
But wouldn't there, like, if someone gets to that point, like they're Dynamaxed out, and they're facing a regular Pokemon, wouldn't you think just like a max move should just like knock that other Pokemon out if it's the size of a house?
That's what we said about Z moves too. I mean, there was a Z move that you literally dropped an asteroid onto another Pokemon and didn't always kill it. So, it's comparable. I think I like the imagery of the Dynamax battles where it's like 2 massive Pokemon just going full on Godzilla on each other and like people cheering. That just cracks me up. It feels like a very British thing to me. Oddly enough, like I could totally just see like thousands of Brits sitting in a soccer stadium watching 2 Pokemon just murder each other and like, blowing up. There's explosions everywhere. Shrapnel's getting flung into the stands, and like the crazy soccer hooligans are just cheering for it as they get wiped out by debris. So yeah, I like that, but it'll be interesting to see how it does. It kind of goes the Z move route for me.
Well, so I want to real quick. So last week, or maybe the week before, we brought up would Z moves be brought to Sword and Shield? Are we thinking this is a replacement for Z moves, and Z moves is strictly an Alolan thing, or do we think they just haven't announced it yet?
It'll be a post-game edition, I guess.
Think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence after seeing how, I guess, integral Dynamax could be to some of the strategic like battles you have to do. I would kind of be surprised if Z moves was added. I feel like they're going to try to start, I think, differentiating and isolating these region-specific things.
Well, that's what I kind of like. I kind of like that. Like I like each region sort of having its own super move, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Where like inevitably, right, in the grand scheme of it all, 5-10 years down the line, when you're able to hop from region to region to region and whatever, like if you're like, you can still do Z moves, but you can only do Z moves with like Alolan Pokemon, and do the weird Power Ranger make my monster grow move with the Galar region Pokemon. And as the other ones, potentially pop up. Like I kind of like that idea.
Yeah. Strangely enough, I do too. I think that's very much going to be where this franchise heads in about 10, 15 years.
And I think for me though, a lot of like the Z move stuff now, because I've been watching a lot of the Sun and Moon anime,
which is amazing. Everyone should watch it.
With my daughter. It's very good. The Z moves feel way more of a cultural thing for the Alolan region than they do like just as a thing. And I would like this, this other thing to be that for Galar.
So Galar, this means when you have a Dynamax Pokemon, you then immediately go out and get tea with them. Have some, just some cultural acceptance, some cultural exchange with your Pokemon. But
yeah, I mean, the Dynamax thing, I think it's something they set it up that it can only be done in the Galar region because there's only specific spots that you can do it in. It's not like, a Pokemon battle breaks out in the middle of London and suddenly they're like taking Big Ben and flinging it at each other.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of nice. But I think as with all things, it'll be something because you don't want to bring in Z moves in like Pokemon Sun and Moon and then like totally take it away. So it won't be emphasized in this game, but eventually after you become Pokemon champion, it's like, I don't know, Hal will show up and like, oh, by the way, I've got this Z band, here you go, and here's a bunch of Z crystals, and that'll just be that. I mean, that's what they did with Mega Evolution, in Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I think it's going to go the same way. So something
I hope you're wrong.
Well, I'm not. I never am about Pokemon Gym.
Wow. All right. We're taking bets now. Leave a comment below.
But you don't even like this new thing.
I'm not a fan. I just feel like it's very weird. Like Z moves, I was pretty on with it when it was announced. I was like, oh, it's cool. You vibe with your Pokemon. Mega Evolutions, I was kind of pretty like meh about.
Oh, see, I love Mega Evolutions.
And to be honest, I still kind of am not in love with Mega Evolutions. I definitely appreciate them more from a strategic point of view, but I feel very much the same way about Dynomax as I do how I did about the Mega Evolutions. Like, I think it looks cool aesthetically. Like, I love the idea, like Hoffer saying, like, people going to a stadium. Like, they can do that in the Galar region because they probably have free healthcare. They can probably then go to the hospital when they've gotten hit with shrapnel. So it's very much a British thing. But, like, I'm just not in love with it, I guess. Like, I definitely appreciate that there's, like, the 3-turn strategic element to it, but I just feels super gimmicky. I think it's going to have to be something that I sit down and play and appreciate, the same that I did with Mega Evolutions. But I was like on board with Z moves from the start, and I still like love them. So
I really like the thing where like you have the band and you're like, no, I'm going to Dynomax my Pokemon, and suddenly the Pokeball becomes like beach ball size, and you have to throw it with both hands like a soccer ball. That's kind of where I like bought into it. I was like, okay, that's hilarious. And I want my Bulbasaur to be 50 foot tall.
I don't know if I missed it or not, but did they? So like with the Z moves, you get a bracelet and there's Z crystals. Is there an apparatus for Dynomax that we saw?
Yes. There is a Dynomax band. Okay. I do not believe there will be crystals or like items that you have to get. They didn't seem to showcase that at all in the trailer or in the subsequent press releases and whatnot. Okay. But you will have a band. So at some point, like with all these bands that people get, I think that we're just eventually just going to have like a full arm sleeve.
That's what I mean. It's gonna look, you're going to look like someone who just went to like 4 raves. On a
That's
Saturday
a very
night.
British thing.
Yeah,
it's all planned.
Or it's going to be like Yugi with his like like he's got his like bracelet, and then he's got his card thing, and it's going to be like that at some point, because it's getting pretty ridiculous now.
Yeah, I don't know. My bottom line is I'm just kind of meh about the Dynamax, except for how it likens to Godzilla, because now I have the image in my head of Psyduck versus Godzilla.
So this is just it's not like a Mega Evolution. So if it Dynamaxes, it's the same Pokemon, just a billion feet tall, not like a Mega. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you have like a 50-foot Sobble or a 50-foot Caterpie, which terrifying. Misty would die if she saw that.
Actually funny. This total kind of tangent. I was watching the season finale of Doom Patrol, and it has a giant cockroach that sort of looms over a town. So it was like basically a cockroach got Dynamaxed, and that's the only vision I have in my head right now.
Terrifying.
All right. So anyway, what else did we learn about Sword and Shield today?
So we got a wild area, which is going to be kind of this like open world area in which different wild Pokemon will appear depending on the weather and the time of day, and there's all sorts of different things. But what seems to be coming back, and they've kind of they didn't spell it out in the press release, but it seems like we're getting your Pokemon Let's Go Pokemon appearing in the overworld map, wandering around, and then you can encounter them.
All right.
So that
so this is like Pokemon Let's Go unregulated Pokemon Safari.
Yes.
Pokemon Safari without borders.
It's kind of like this big, huge open area like setting. So it's not like, like, oh, you have Route 1. Like, no, this is like all of Galar. And then like the cities kind of are inside of this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a kind of Breath of the Wild-esque.
So
Not quite the same.
no hunting in tall grass for these.
There's some of that.
Well,
there's
they'll be
still tall grass.
like let's go tall grass is what I mean.
It seems to be a mix actually.
Yeah, 'cause sometimes you'll just get like an exclamation point that comes over the grass, so you know something's there, but you won't know what.
Wow.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you'll see it.
And sometimes you'll see a Pokemon and it'll start running away from you. Other times you'll
Or
see a
you
Pokemon
run away from
and
it.
it'll start chasing after you. So different Pokemon do different things. That's pretty cool.
I would love it if there was like a super overpowered Pokemon that you sort of encountered in the wild that you knew you could not just sort of defeat, but because it was chasing you in the wild and you entered the battle and whatnot and you could not run and it just totally destroyed you.
I feel like that would be like if you ran into the legendary, because they're dogs and they'd just be like, love me, pet me, give me all the good love. And you'd be like,
Or
I'm
I
not
will
ready to go.
literally shoot you with my knife.
Yeah, it's like you are running. I know you just want a pet, but you have a sword in your mouth, my friend. I do not want to mess with you.
Do not run with scissors.
Yeah, but
Let alone giant swords.
exactly. But no, I think it's interesting because I'm surprised. I did not think that this gameplay mechanic would show up in here from Let's Go, which I really loved.
Yeah, I love that gameplay mechanic so much.
So I'm pretty excited to see how this works out. I did very much get like Breath of the Wild-esque vibes from when it was showing like the large landscape.
Well, a lot
things.
of this game sort of gave me a bunch of that, and I think that's the type of gameplay that we wanted to see from a Pokemon.
Very much so. And I think, in 3 to 5 years, we're going to definitely get something that is as ingrained and as technical and as like there's many Easter eggs and as complex as Breath of the Wild. But just seeing it, I couldn't help but feel like, oh, this looks kind of like Breath of the Wild light. But again, this is pretty premature footage. We're
Right.
still they're slow rolling things. It's just like how movie trailers digitally take things out of footage
Yeah, of course.
to like keep you in suspense. I mean,
finish 'em.
I'm sure the Pokemon Company is treating this the same way. So I'm curious to see the final product, or as we move towards the final product, of how enriched the wild area will become, like to see like items on the ground, like stuff like that. I want to see how interactive it can be, because Breath of the Wild is very interactive. So I'm curious how much time the Pokemon Company and Game Freak had to kind of like explore that concept. So I'm very excited about it.
Cool.
We also have the max raids. That's the other big thing.
Oh
that's
yeah, right, the max raids.
So
Which-
this is no. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so why don't you explain it and then I'll ask my question.
So this is basically like if you've played Pokemon Go, they have these raids where everyone has to work together to take out this like souped up Pokemon. Well, now they literally have that mechanic in Pokemon Sword and Shield with these Dynomax Pokemon. So you and up to 3 other trainers can go into one of these max raids, and the 4 of you have to work together to take out this Dynomax Pokemon. And certain Pokemon can only be captured by completing a max raid.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Now, Megan made the joke earlier, basically, that we have zero faith in Nintendo's online capabilities to actually make this work. Do we feel like this is more of a local play thing, or is this something that will be an internet thing?
It has both. So, like, you
But
can.
what do you think will work?
I would stick with local as much as you can. I mean, Pokemon, say what you want, but about Nintendo's online capability, it's awful. I'm not going to disagree with that. But the Pokemon games have always had like pretty good online capabilities. I mean, I've always been able to trade what I wanted to trade, been able to battle what I want to battle. So this is a little bit different because it's a little bit live, a little bit more coordinated. So I'm interested to see if like you find like a max raid, if it'll go like, do you want to fight this on your own? Because you can have AI support trainers if you wanted, or do you want to like do pairing on the internet? So I'm curious to see how this all will work. But yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in Nintendo's online capability. It's all been pretty terrible so far. But Pokemon's been kind of at the forefront of that stuff basically since Pokemon Red and Blue. So we'll see.
Yeah, I definitely think local is going to be the way to go. I have very notorious feelings on Nintendo's online capabilities, but I think it'll be really interesting because, like, you see so many people. Like, there's a big park downtown that I go to a lot, and there's like it's notorious for having gyms everywhere and Pokestops. And I just know as soon as this game comes out, there's gonna be so many people with their Switches just gathered together trying to find groups of 3. It's gonna be like when they were playing that game in elementary school, and someone calls a number, and you have to find that group of people. And it's like if you're that one left out, you're not getting this raid done. So I'm excited about that. I'm already starting to like coordinate, like, who do I know who has a Switch that's local that I'll be able to do this with?
Well, and I think that you'll be able to do, like, so if me and you wanted to do a raid together, Megan,
which we will, don't worry.
yeah, oh yeah, it's coming. We'll be able to do that without much issue.
I'm excited.
So overall, how do we feel about the news today?
Good.
Is this what we wanted? This what we needed?
Yeah.
So.
I'm really excited for these games. I like everything that we saw so far. I like how much personality these games seem to have. Like the Galar region seems to have a lot more personality than the Alola region.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
that pleases me.
Like that initially, Christian always like second guesses what his answer is going to be. It's like, yes, and then goes into 50 reasons why he loves it.
I was like, I'm deciding, and then I am convinced.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm definitely with Christian on that. I mean, when they introduced the human characters, like Leon, he looks like there's already so many thirst tweets about Leon, and it makes me vastly uncomfortable.
So over the top.
Yeah, he is just extra.
He's got like the Tony Stark facial hair. He's wearing like one of those like crazy baseball caps, which, you know, they don't have the bent visor. He's got a goddamn cape that's fur-lined and has ads on the back.
That's how you do it.
What is even up with that? Who wears a cape with advertisements?
People in Britain, apparently.
Okay,
at least Leon does. But like Sonya, was that her name? The girl with the orange hair?
I think so.
Yeah, there are. I couldn't, like, I was trying to find like some reaction news early about the Pokemon, and I could not find anyone talking about the Pokemon. They were all talking about Sonya. They were all just like when Misty gets upgraded, and they had like the meme pictures of like enhance 1000% and you get Sonya, which I agree. Like, she looks super cute, and I'm already very interested in the characters, which is not something that I felt with Sun and Moon. Yeah. Even still playing the game, I don't feel that connection. The thing that got me connected to the Sun and Moon characters was the anime. Yeah. So this already makes me very excited for the Sword and Shield anime generation we're going to get, because, I mean, the Alolan anime is running kind of towards its climax right now. So very excited for that.
I like the new gym one that we got, the Milo, the grass type gym leader. He looks so freaking buff on the upper half, but he's got these like skinny little legs, and that's just
surprise. Christian likes the grass gym.
He just makes me laugh. Like, he's this like big buff dude who skips like leg day. Also, probably a very British thing.
Oh boy!
That's when I just come across in the travels the Great British Bake Off tent.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my God! Please.
Well, they did mention that in this game, like, it's very much kind of like Rhyme City. Like, this is a region where like Pokemon and humans live in like harmony, and they were saying like you might get a job and you might be working with Pokemon. So if I do not get to go buy Pokemon pastries and have like a Chansey or something make my Pokemon pastries, and it's like Great British Bake Off style. What is the point? What is it? What is it?
Well, clearly there is more Pokemon Sword and Shield news on the way. E3 is next week, so I'm sure we'll get some more stuff there. Potentially first look at some true gameplay stuff. This was a picture perfect direct in the sense of getting everything that they needed to get out about this game to whet everyone's appetite, make everyone thirsty, get everyone, show some really cool Pokemon. Legendaries are cool. The gameplay mechanic looks pretty cool. I wish this game came out tomorrow, but it doesn't. So we just need to move on.
Yeah, it comes out November 15th, so everyone can mark that on their calendars, because I already have.
Already taken that day off.
It is time for our Pokemon Fact of the Week.
All right. Is
now,
it
I
gross
appreciate
or not?
it that Christian did not put the answer in the notes. He just put the question. So now we get to truly figure it out.
Do we need a gore warning right now?
Yeah. Is this gonna gross someone out?
It is a gross one. It's not gory. It is disturbing, as are 50% of these book of facts.
Okay, you've been warned, everyone.
This week involves everyone's favorite, Lickitung.
No.
So the question is as we know, Lickitung has this huge tongue. Why does it cause paralysis?
Does it like secrete a poison?
It's gotta be a poison thing. It just secretes grossness. I don't even want to know where it comes from, though.
It has nothing to do with secreting grossness.
Oh wait, does it make you so sticky you can't move?
No, it's even worse. Okay.
Oh no.
Lickitung licks everything. That is well established. Like, it sees a new thing, it licks it. Okay. It also likes to clean things. So Lickitung cleans everything with its tongue. It doesn't really go into like detail about the paralysis, but the inference, and this is supported by Lickitung's origins that we'll talk about in a second, is that all the grossness that Lickitung picks up in its saliva then gets passed on to you. And it literally says, the saliva instantly causes rashes. You know that scene where in Detective Pikachu where he gets like slimed by Lickitung? What they didn't show was Tim immediately breaking out into like pustules from it.
Oh my god.
Well, that's it. Now I just imagine Lickitung licking a subway pole and then licking your face and just like.
Did Lickitung cause like the bubonic plague in that universe or something?
It could have, but so here's where it's even nastier. You said subway pole, Jim. If only it were limited to subway poles, because Lickitung is based off of a yokai, a Japanese spirit called, and I'm probably going to butcher this, and I apologize, an Akaname, A-K-A-N-A-M-E. It is a long-tongued yokai, and guess what it cleans? Guess how it shows up?
In toilets.
Dead people?
Toilets, yes, that's right.
That's right.
Gross.
If you have a filthy bathroom, this yokai will show up to clean it with its tongue. And Lickitung is like clearly based off this, because Lickitung has one claw on each of its foot, and this yokai has one claw on each of its foot, and they also have 7-foot long tongues.
Right.
So that's right. Lickitung cleans bathrooms, then licks you, and that's why you probably die.
So when you go potty later today, just think that is where Lickitung comes from.
That's also just like great like motivation to keep your bathroom clean. Unless you just want a wild Lickitung to appear.
Oh God! On that note.
This Lickitung's just standing outside your house, just staring at you with its tongue like lopped out. It's like, oh God, must be bathroom cleaning day. I gotta get
It's time to get those chores done.
Well, on that note, thanks for listening to another episode of A Wild Podcast Has Appeared, the best Pokemon podcast you're going to find on the internet. To recap, every Thursday is a new episode, and we have we are just getting started on the Sword and Shield news train, and so I am really excited for what the next months are going to bring, and what we've got. Not to mention the stuff coming for the trading card game, stuff coming for Go. Comic-Con's coming up, so who knows what we'll get there. I meant to pull up a review. Please, if you like this show and you think it's good. I like to think it's good. Head on over to iTunes or wherever you listen to it, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever. Leave us a review. And if you leave us a 5-star review, we will read it on air. And if we do, and you hear it, you can win a Comicbook.com t-shirt.
I have a review up. If you want me to read it now.
Well, I just pulled one up, and it's one I want to read because the username for this one is my favorite. This is from Wolf Blitzer's Beard. Headline, Best I Found. And his review goes, got back into Pokemon about 2 years ago, and I've been looking for a podcast like this one. Good rundown of the news, nostalgia, and everything else. I look forward to it each week for the morning and evening commutes. Great work, and keep the episodes coming, guys. So thank you, Wolf Blitzer's Beard. Obviously, big fan.
Big fan. 5 out of 5 on that review.
I am going to read one more. from B3N friend, Ben friend, maybe?
Maybe.
Great stuff. 3 likable hosts, great conversations, interesting deep dives into the Pokemon lore, and an obvious feeling of passion from everyone involved behind the scenes. This has become one of the podcasts I most look forward to during the week. Keep up the good work, all. So thank you guys. The reviews, the reviews help us be able to do more with this show. It makes it pop up in iTunes a bit more. Tell your parents, tell your friends, tell your grandparents. The more the merrier, obviously. Look, we're Pokemon is still having an incredible year. You don't want to be the friend that doesn't know anything about Pokemon when all the other people in the room know about it. And this, with Lick a Tongue fact, will make you the coolest person in the room.
Or it'll make you a pariah. One or the other.
That would not make you the coolest person in the room.
You can find me on Twitter at Jim Viscardi.
You can find me on Twitter at Megan Peters CB.
And I am Seahoffer, C-Bus on Twitter.
E3's next week, folks. We'll see you then.
See ya.